And of course,
Now let's start.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to FuckUp Nights Tokyo, volume 24.5. So my name is Riley Masunaga. I'm going to be your MC for tonight. Thank you so much for coming. So for some people, it might be your first time coming to FuckUp Nights. So I want to ask you, why are we here? Tonight, the reason we're here is to celebrate failure. If you're at this event, you probably are someone who really likes to come and listen to people speak. But usually a lot of those talks are really similar. You hear someone talk about how they were able to achieve this great success and how you should go and do the same thing. But tonight we're not here for that type of story. The reason we're here tonight is to celebrate failure, because we believe that through failure, you can really learn a lot about yourself and you can learn a lot about business and what you should do. So the reason we're here tonight is to celebrate failure. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about the origin of FuckUp Nights and how it got started. So in 2012 in Mexico City, a bunch of friends were sitting around and drinking, and they started to ask, why do we have this culture where we only listen to why people succeed? Why don't we ever talk about why people fail? So as they kept drinking, they started to talk about these failure stories. And what they found was the more that they shared about their failures, the more they could both get to know each other. And also the more that they really learned about, they learned from those experiences. So since 2012, FuckUp Nights has now expanded to over 300 cities and over 90 countries. Wrong way. And in Tokyo, we've been running FuckUp Nights since 2015. And since 2015, we've had over 70 speakers share their stories, and we've grown to a community of over 1,000 members. And while this idea of failure, I think, is important anywhere you go, we felt that especially in Japan, there's still often this negative association with failure. And we'd like to think that we're doing just a little bit to try and make people more comfortable talking about and sharing their failures. So before going any further, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today. So first of all, of course, thank you to Venture Café Tokyo. Venture Café is a global nonprofit with the mission of connecting innovators to make things happen. And they have been growing innovation communities across the globe for over a decade. Tokyo is their first expansion, and this Thursday night gathering is their signature event. Happens every Thursday between 4 and 9 p.m. And they always have a bunch of different speakers, all different types of topics and interviews, lectures, always interesting stuff. And it's a great opportunity to come and meet different people. So if you're interested, definitely check out Thursday gatherings, Venture Café Tokyo. Thank you. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. And next, we would also like to thank Code Chrysalis as one of the sponsors for today's program. So to tell me more about that, let's welcome Haley.
Hello. Okay. Hi. Yeah. Thank you, Riley. My name is Hallie. I am the admissions lead at Code Chrysalis. So I was here a couple hours before the speaking event happened, so I probably chatted with a couple of you. But yeah, our coding boot camp, Code Chrysalis, basically we train software engineers to people to become software engineers. You can change your career, retrain your skills. Maybe you had done programming and now you want to get back into it and get back into software engineering. So we're a Silicon Valley style coding boot camp in Tokyo. And it's really, really exciting what we offer. Our main boot camp, which is 3 months long, but we also offer some introduction courses as well. So if you work with software engineers, you have an interest in programming, I really recommend our introductory courses too. So please, if you're interested in chatting with us, we'll be here after the event as well. But yeah, we helped put this on. So thank you again for hosting us, Venture Cafe. And I'm excited to hear my boss Connie's story tonight, actually. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, so again, thank you so much to Code Chrysalis and to Venture Cafe for making today possible. So everyone, get a drink, get comfortable. We're going to get started. I'm very excited today to introduce our speakers, Dao Kai and Connie Munirasa. So Dao is going to tell us a little bit about her experience with burnout and how she's been learning how to personally define what it means to be successful. And Connie will be talking to us a little bit about some of the failures he's had in the past and the things he's learned that are still serving us to this day. So they're going to be a presentation and then a short Q&A and a written Japanese summary after each talk. So without any further, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for today, Dao Kai. So everyone, let's.
That's huge. Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Yes, good. Okay. So yeah, first of all, thank you very much for being here tonight. My name is Dao. I'm a third culture kid. So I was raised in a country really that neither belong to my parents nor myself. So my parents are Chinese and I was raised in Peru. So as you can see, we were really kind of lost in a foreign country, like tourists, right? In a new country. This is an actual postcard from my family. So you can see the lovely, beautiful Machu Picchu at the background with the bright Chinese colors, right? This is very common in my family. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I've been very fortunate really to live through different countries, colors, music, food, very fortunate about that. I'm a second generation, so not the third one where the real fuck up happens. So for the ones that don't know that expression, right, they usually say that the third generation is the one that has forgotten all the grandparents' sacrifice and they live the free fun life. So yeah, I grew up very aware of my parents' 17 working hours a day, 24/7, nonstop. And contrary, very contrary to my, is this working? Oh yeah. So contrary to the tiger parenting style from Asian families, right? My parents really didn't care that much. They never checked my homework. In fact, I failed twice when I was in school, when I was in college. My parents never cared and they never said anything to me. And it's not because I was a golden child or anything, but basically they were really, really tired and burnt out. Now, but growing up in that kind of environment of hard work was really a blessing in disguise, I could say. I grew up with a deep sense of duty and responsibility. Don't ask me what for, but I just knew that I had to do well and I didn't want to live the life that they lived. So, and I really, really wanted to make them feel proud and in a way that the sacrifices were worth it. Sorry about this. So what did I do? I really studied hard. I worked hard. And I was really chasing those right decisions, the next promotion, next title, and so on, because I thought that was what worth it meant. So in today's story, I want to share a little bit of what happened to me. So back in 2016, almost towards the end of it, I was working in a pharmaceutical company, 400 people plus, and I was really helping them restructure this Salesforce team. In real words, it just meant having to let go people, very good people, and they were going to be fired. So it was 6 months of very, very hard work, emotionally, mentally, and then obviously very confidential. But ironically, by then I was being very successful. So I was being promoted every year. I thought I was making it. But the truth was, I could not keep food in my stomach for months. I would be sitting there thinking, having those anxiety attacks at 3 a.m. I could not breathe. I remember once I even, for the ones that know Mexico City is perhaps the place with with the highest crime rate, right? And at nighttime, I knocked on my neighbor. I didn't know him. And I said, can you help me? I cannot breathe. What was I thinking, right? In Mexico City. But lucky, he was really helpful and he helped me through that. So in very pandemic terms, I was really, really burnt out. And I decided, maybe for the first time in my life, you know what? I'm going to put myself first, my mental health, my physical health. If I really wanted to make it in life, I had to be okay with myself. So I decided to take a leap of faith. It was really, really scary, I have to say, to just having to let go that financial security, the safe job in a way. And it still scares me. And the interesting thing at the same time is that ever since that point, I'm still trying to redefine what success means. The KPIs that I put into my own life and terms. Because growing up in the West and East, you can consciously or subconsciously pick up a lot of the nuances, right, of what success means. So I'm really trying still to write that story for myself. Now, through those years of leap of faith, things have come in different shapes, packaged in different shapes and forms. So what I did is I completed my MBA. I met my ever supportive husband. I think he's there. I lived in 2 different countries. I changed work. So things have been pretty positive in a way. Now, if you ask me, what would I have done differently? I would say, first of all, reach out to people. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm struggling, and always try to be compassionate with yourself. I would have also embraced uncertainty in a more adventurous way. We are so often stuck thinking what I'm not becoming, but instead, I think we should focus on what we can create. Now, if there's anything that I want you guys to take from my story is you are really never alone, okay? Never alone. Remember that stranger neighbor? I didn't know him, didn't matter, but you're not alone, so reach out. The second one is, I think it's truly okay. So whatever journey you're on, it's truly okay. You have to know and trust that you're doing your best. Like we all, right? We have our bad days, very frustrating days, and that's simply because you're trying. Okay, and by trying, you are already one step ahead. Be compassionate to yourself and to others. As you might know, right? We all are in different paths, different journeys. So really be compassionate and understanding. Having a purpose can be really fun and make it more meaningful. But if you don't have one yet, I say welcome to the club. Okay. Welcome to the club, and just don't forget to always ask that question. One that is really, really important, I'm still trying to learn, is have your own benchmarks of what success means. Nowadays society, right? You can't literally find something faster, quicker, prettier, smarter, whatever. Just have your own North Star, and then let that guide you through your decisions in life. Lastly, I think that this is also an interesting one, is that while we are trying and failing, it really can feel like a fuck up. But in reality, just gathering content for a very, very good story to share with others. Now, I really want to finish the night, my speak with this one. You see, we often are stuck in this. We always think this is my path and this is where I am today. All the things that I could have done and I should have done, right? But I want you to go home tonight and think you are actually here, and then there's a ton of possibilities that you can create. So, yep, that's all. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dal. So we're going to open it up now for Q&A. We should have a microphone going around the audience. But we do not have a microphone going around. Oh, maybe. Okay, so we will have a microphone going around the audience if anyone has any questions. But yeah, I just wanted to say, Dal, thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing your story. And like what I really like about your story is, I think a lot of times when people think about how these presentations are gonna go, they think that like at the end of the story, you'll be able to say, and then I figured everything out and now everything is good. But you were very honest about like, you're still trying to understand these things for yourself, which I think is a really hard thing to talk about. It's a really hard thing to share. So I just wanted to ask, like, why did you decide to share your story tonight?
Okay, so first of all, really, it's just, in my opinion, a constant work in progress, right? If we are always, or at least if we aspire to chase for that perfect scenario, I made it, it's going to be a long, frustrating chase. Now, the second one is why I decided to share this story is I feel since I moved to Japan, like maybe 8-9 months ago, it's been a real eye-opening experience for me, especially when I take the train underground and I see a lot of frustration, perhaps in my mind. Okay, I see, and I think Japan is a very conservative society, and I just want to share with people that it's actually okay to just go and try things. It's totally fine, really fine. When you look back, it's not so much the regret of I failed, but it's that I haven't tried. So I just really want to share that with people.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? Okay, we have one question over there. Can someone bring the microphone up?
Hi, thank you for sharing your story. You mentioned that the company you were working for was in Mexico, correct? Now, the company itself was a Mexican company or it was an overseas company? Well, basically, my question is as far as the Mexican business, because I'm Mexican also. So the Mexican business culture compared to the Japanese business culture, as far as dealing with Mexican customers or other Mexican businesses, what was the business culture like compared to the Japanese business culture?
What is it like? Sorry, the differences in business culture, you mean?
Yeah, the business cultures. What are the
Yeah,
differences?
I think that's a very good question. Probably I want to start with the similarities. 100%, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I'm Mexicano. So one of the things I felt in Mexico that was very obvious is political, politics is very important.
A lot of bribes.
I was being politically correct, yes. So a lot of, if you want to put it that way, yes, but even at workplace, right, it's really about, okay, who you are to me, you're my friend, and the politics in the office is really heavy and probably the heaviest I've seen in, so I work at Eli Lilly, American company. I work in 3 affiliates and the Mexican one was probably heavily political. I think Japan, that's pretty much the case as well. Yes. One key difference perhaps, and I don't know if this is personality, but I feel that in Mexico, you could at least say things as they are. Okay, we'll go for beer, we say things as they are. I think in Japan, there's still more a struggle and the fear of judgment is big. So in Japan, I never quite know what people really are trying to tell me. But yeah, that's just speaking from my own personal experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I have a question. I'm kind of curious about what happened when you were in Mexico. You told us that it seems that you reached your low point right? When you were there and you were even physically ill. I wonder, what do you think happened in maybe your mindset or the way you were thinking at the time that triggered you to take action? Because I imagine you already were carrying a lot of thoughts about what if I did this or what if that, but then what do you think it is that happened in you that actually propelled you into action at that moment?
That's a great question, because that's probably where I struggled most as well, because I knew I was totally burnt out. Yet my logical brain would say, what are you doing? You're having this great life, right? So for me, it was a wake-up call. It was quite personal. So my grandma passed away during those months. Yet I was still so caught up with all the work and that, and I didn't even see her, in her last days. But then I was, interesting story as well. So I will go back to Lima very often, and I say, I'm having this serious chapter of gastritis. I think it's called gastritis. And then I had so many tests, the doctor would even say, I think you might have a Mexican parasite, like they always test you on that. I was like, no, it's not. But yeah, I think seeing how my state of being, physical and perhaps mentally, was affecting people around me, that was a wake-up call. Not so much how I was feeling, but I could tell, I was snapping at my family and people. I'm like, they don't even deserve it. And that was my wake-up call, maybe.
Thank you so much.
I'm wondering, like, you talked about like the how, a lot of this is based in culture, or maybe what you wanted to do for your family, or like, yeah, for your family. Like, how has your like family reacted to this? Or
They were totally fine. It was all in my mind. Again, it's back to the struggle, when you're raised in different countries and different cultures, you pick up what success means, right? In an Asian culture, is, well, have your good life, your good job, education, etc. Luckily, my parents were teachers, and they never pressured me on anything. But as a kid, and again, back to the second generation, I could see the struggle, and I thought to myself, you know what, I need to work hard. So no, it was really those mental barriers. And I think sometimes the mental barriers are way higher than the real physical barriers.
do you have any other questions? Okay, so thank you so much again for sharing your story. And
Thank
we
you.
all
Thank you for the
appreciate it.
opportunity.
Okay, for our next speaker, we have Connie Munirasa, the co-founder and CEO at Code Chrysalis. So born in Japan and raised in Sri Lanka, Connie graduated from Tokyo University of Agriculture and Technology with a degree in mechanical engineering. He worked as an executive at companies like EMC, Greenplum, and Pivotal Labs before leaving to explore his passion for education. So he's come to Tokyo from San Francisco in 2017 to co-found the Tokyo Coding Bootcamp Code Chrysalis. And today he's going to tell us a little bit about some of his past fuck-ups and his mindset towards bouncing back. So let's welcome Connie to the stage.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me well? Yeah, all right, cool. So I'm just going to jump right into it. My name is Connie, and I want to start by asking you all a question in the audience, online as well. Who has a fuck-up story to tell? It may be so colossal that you vividly remember the details of your story, or it could be a case where you barely made through it and somehow survived to tell the story. Can I see a raise of hands? Don't be shy. Who has a fuck-up story to say? Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. About half of the room. Thanks, Bob. I'm not sure how many online also raised their hands, but my next question goes to those who did not raise their hands. So you know who you are. What is your story? Are you telling me that you do not have a fuck-up story to tell? I want you to think about that for a second. And really, even if I give you like 2 hours or the entire golden week to think about this and come back here and say, nope, I actually do have a fuck up story. Or maybe you still don't. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but for those of you who think you don't have a story to tell tonight, guess what? I don't have one too. When I was asked to come and talk at this event, I really thought deep and hard about my fuck-ups in my life. And I even got some of my staff involved. We were brainstorming, and none of them were worthy of a story to come and tell here. There's no drama, there's no trauma. There wasn't anything that I thought was worthwhile for your ears. So that got me to think, am I superhuman, or are we superhuman? Do we have a superpower that others don't? Or are we invincible? If so, someone should clone us. Are we perfect? Am I just a perfect being? The reality, however, is so different from the truth. I am imperfect. How do I know this? If I ask my colleagues, my friends, especially my wife, they'll say, you fuck up all the time. Some of them are really big fuck ups too. Some small, but it happens all the time. So they do exist. They absolutely do exist. So why is it then can I not, when I try to remember what's worthy to be spoken out here loud, what can I share as a story that we can all learn from? Why do I struggle bringing that story out? So thanks to this opportunity, I got a chance to really think hard. And guess what? I found the answer. Ready? Drum roll. I forget. I conveniently forget. And I'm not talking about me deliberately trying to erase some traumatic experience. I genuinely my brain seems to genuinely forget all the traumatic experiences for me. So I do have a superpower, and that is that I'm forgetful. By the way, this is a great book of poems written by Zahara. Check it out on Amazon if you're interested. But yeah, I forget. And today, the story I want to bring to you all is a unique one. It's a weird one. It's how actually forgetting my fuck-ups has helped me catapult build traction on my life and career goals. It's a story that's not spoken too often, but one that I feel has some lessons to be shared. It's not in the format of fun night, sorry, Riley. And there is a lot of science behind what I'm about to speak. For those of you who are academic, if you look up why human beings tend to forget traumatic experiences, or why it's important for humans to forget to just evolve, it's a thing. There's so much research on this topic that you can dive into. But I'm just going to talk about how it has affected me and how it has helped me. So I think forgetting my fuck-ups have helped me in 3 unique ways. One, it really helps me bounce back fast and creatively move forward. It helps me to adapt to needed change and gives me momentum versus slowing me down or just not making me move forward. And finally, this is a big one for me. It rids my fears. It makes me nimble and spontaneous. So this night is about celebrating our fuck-ups and talking about what we've learned through them. And I want to bring two stories where I fucked up. I wrote them in the teaser story. One was when I got thrown out of Goldman Sachs in Manhattan for doing a presentation. The customer's expectation was not met. The customer clearly had an idea of what they wanted me to present. And I went in there with a total different agenda and I got thrown out. Mind you, this was during the dot-com boom. So things were tough then. You just get thrown out for shit like that. So it was devastating. I was still very, very young. It was my second job. I went back to Boston. But something interesting happened. I wrote back to the customer and I told him that I want to come back again. I understand what their requirements are, and let me present again. So next day I went back to New York. These were the days that Zoom did not exist, by the way. So you'd have to drive back. And I presented and I crushed it, and they bought our product, and it was a happy story. But that was possible because of what I've written down here. I forgot almost instantaneously the painful shame, the agony, the pride. I thought I might even lose my job, that my boss might even fire me. A lot of different feelings that I felt, and which was, I'm sure, so fearful for a young person in a second job. I somehow forgot it, and I just went with a fresh mind, and it worked. So that's one example of how forgetting has helped me. You may ask, though, okay, there has to be some downside to this. It's not all good stuff, right? And there is one downside, and that's I tend to fuck up again and again sometimes for the same reason. The second story I had in the teaser was when I got laid off. I thought I was doing really well at my job. And I was called into my manager's office. HR was there, and they just said, hey, we are laying you off. And I was shocked. What's going on here? I'm a high performer. I'm doing this and that. But I was misaligned again to what my manager wanted me to do and what I thought I needed to do. So this was the second time that I had a major fuck up for the same reason of not being in alignment. Sure enough, second time was the charm for me. That lesson has stuck with me, and I now know to stay aligned. But I want to say this. I'm still not sure that I won't make this mistake again. And honestly, that's okay. My personal learnings and takeaways from all of this is that fucking up is just being human. This night is dedicated to people's mistakes, to people's fuck ups, so that we can talk about them, learn from them, and grow, hopefully not make them happen, but it's just human to fuck up. This is my way of looking at fuck ups. It's just an iteration for me. It's not a failure. You fuck up, so just get up, back again, and do the thing that you have to do. And I'm kind to myself. I know that I may not be able to prevent similar fuck ups in the future. And you know what? That's totally okay in my book. So in conclusion, what I want to it's a bit lengthy and wordy, but I did put some thought into this and got some help online. So let me read this out to you quickly. We tend to associate fuck ups with bad outcomes, whether physical, emotional, or economic. But unfounded or unreasonable fear of fucking up can lead us to unproductive behaviors such as procrastination or overcompensation. You do not want this fear to end up holding you back from achieving your dreams and living your dreams and living your life to the fullest. So with that said, I would like to make one ask to all of you, which is fear not to fuck up. It's okay. If you haven't fucked up already, guess what? It's gonna happen, right? And when it happens, and I'm saying not if, when it happens, just forget about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And just as a word to anyone out there in the audience today, anyone online, you would be shocked, and I'm going to call people out a little bit about this. You'd be really shocked to know how many people say that they want to speak at FuckUp Nights, and they start by saying, but my biggest problem is that I really never made a big mistake before. And first of all, why are you applying to speak at FuckUp Nights then? But then second of all, when Connie first started telling his story, I started to have traumatic flashbacks of those moments, but it was a very unique, like you said, it doesn't follow the normal way that we do these. It was a very unique experience because then you immediately started talking about these like terrible, terrible mistakes you've made. So it was a very unique presentation. And yeah, what I wanted to ask you was, I think there's usually two mindsets towards this, which is one is like, whatever my weak point is, I should find a way to fix it. And the other mindset is kind of like, however I am naturally, I'm just going to go with it. Like, what do you think about that? And like, what do you think about trying to fix those mistakes? Because another thing that people don't often say is like, yeah, I fucked up and then I did it again and then maybe again. Like, that's pretty rare. So I wanted to get your opinion on that.
In the society we live today as entrepreneurs and startup people, and just in general, failures are looked at in such a negative way. And we will hear fail fast and iterate, make mistakes, but not twice, make new mistakes. And honestly, I'm not sure how much that applies to every one of us. I think we all have a different threshold. I'm sure some of you can take a lesson from a talk like this and apply it and not make those mistakes, or never make that same mistake that you made once. But I don't think it applies the same way to everybody. So find your comfort levels, be comfortable with yourself and what you can do, and know yourself and be happy with it. In my case, I know I'm going to fuck up again, but I'm gonna just get up and do it again and again and again. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience? Oh, we have one over there.
Hi. Thank you for encouraging to be fuck up. Yeah, yeah. The fear of the failure, mistake is a very big problem in Japan. So people want to be very safe or avoid any mistake or any risk. So yeah, most of Japanese people should listen to your advice. But I wonder actually, your way is the best way, because many people say the best about the failure is to learn lesson. So not to make same mistake. So I think the maybe best is how the distance with our failure. So maybe if too close, we have we have suffer from the trauma, but if we totally forget, we make same mistake. So maybe if because usually it's easier to advise other people's mistake. So if we could more like my mistake, like someone's friend's mistake, so then maybe it's better approach to failure.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely not prescribing this as a prescription to everybody. This is my story and how I've dealt with my failures. And as I mentioned, it's not even deliberate. When I look back at my life, I can only see events that have been pivotal towards my furthering my whether career or life goals. And some of these events are very negative events. They were fuck ups, but I don't remember them as fuck ups anymore. That's what I'm trying to say. For me, I try to use that as a catapult, if you will, as a way to build more momentum towards what I'm doing. But with time, I'm not sure how much time, but I completely forget the negative things that happened along with that event. Some traumatic, some very sad, but I don't relive those experiences. And also, yes, if you can learn from people's mistakes, by all means, don't have to put yourself in the same shoes when you have that advice. So, but it's hard for me. I feel like I have to step on the shit puddle myself to know that there's shit there. So
It's much more kind of take what you can from this, not so much try to copy what I'm doing.
Hi, thank you very much for your story. Yeah, it's very interesting what you're mentioning, how you just forget it. A lot of times when I fuck up, I act as if it's like life-threatening or if it's very devastating. So it becomes very emotional for me. So sometimes it's really hard just to move forward from it. For you, when you have that moment of realization when it's a huge fuck up, like it's huge, what is the emotional and mental process that you go through in order for you to move forward?
it's a good question, and I'm not sure if I have the full analysis of myself or the situation or what I'm going through to explain what I'm going through and what happens. But according to my wife, like if we go to the same fuck up together, and she also experienced the same thing, maybe the car accident, the reason of my bad decision or whatever, the trauma for her lasts way longer than it does for me. I'm immediately going into a mindset of like, how do I make everybody safe? How do I just see what's going? I mean, I go into a mode, and I don't panic about problems like this either. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a gift either. It could be a real curse. But I've somehow been able to manipulate it or use it to my benefit and to move forward or to make better progress.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying. I guess you go into more of a protective state of being where, you know, your wife is going through this emotional journey with it because of the fuck up, so to speak. But you get into more of a protective state. Okay, what can I do to move forward from this to protect my wife, my family, my business, and so on?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if it's because of my training too. So I have been working in crisis management too for a long time. And I'm used to not putting out actual fires, but a data center going down. You have 10 million people like screaming at you, like cussing at you, saying, we are losing X million dollars every second, fix this damn thing, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I've learned to build a very calm sense to deal with these kind of situations and look at objectively at how to fix the problem. So I'm not sure if that has something to do with it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess keeping your calm and not panicking. I think that's the key takeaway that I'm getting is not panicking and seeing things objectively, like you just mentioned. Okay, thank you very much.
And we have one more question from Dao.
Yes. So I hear that you were in San Francisco, in Boston, and then obviously long experience in Japan, right? What I found very interesting is You know, in the US, they really encourage you to just go and try and see what comes out. But Japan, being a society who has feared so much failure, I found it so paradoxical at the same time, because Japan is a great country in a sense, right? Super safe, very advanced, but it's such a paradox for me, you know, like when you still have the fear of failure, not trying, yet you are advanced as a society in a way. What are your thoughts on this? Or can you shed some insight?
Yeah, risk averse. I don't know if I have an academic approach or answer to this, but from my experience of, I'm in Japan now for 5 years running Code Chrysalis. And in a past life, in the 90s, I was here for 8 years, 4 years of university and 4 years of working in Japan. And yeah, in the work environment, risks are not taken because they're not rewarded. Even if you take a risk and you have a huge upside, a monetary upside in the business, you're not rewarded for it unless you're in maybe sales. So why should you take a risk, right? This kind of corporate environment is unfortunate for innovation and moving things forward. I find senior management playing more of a safe role until retirement. Don't rock the boat too much kind of situation. But being in the startup world and community and looking at even some of the old companies, how they're changing with the younger generations, it's changing fast. And people are willing to take the risks and hungry to make some changes and make an impact. So I'm hoping that they are going in the right direction.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Connie. Everyone, let's give him one more round of applause. Okay, everyone. So as the last thing for tonight, we have a little bit of PR time. So as a way to thank our speakers for sharing their story with us, we also want to be able to give back a little bit. So each one of our speakers will have just a request to the audience. And yeah, we hope that you can give back for them sharing their stories with us today. So Del, if you want to say something.
Not much really. Really happy to connect with you. Again, just reach out. Maybe another thing that I would like to share is Katariji. So it's over there on the desk. So if you want to create your own brand, just reach out. We can talk more about that. Hi.
Thank you so much. Definitely go check out their table over there. And next, Connie.
Yeah. I learned to code when I was 43. So I worked in technology all my life, in technology companies, but I could not code. I couldn't make anything with code, which was really bugging me. So I learned how to code and was really fascinated by the world. And I wanted to share with more people this skill. That's why I created Code Chrysalis. I don't want to plug the school by any means, but no matter what you're doing in life, learning how to program means you're learning how to think logically. Because when you have to code to a machine, machines are fast, but they're dumb, right? So you have to give them instructions one by one for them to do anything. So think of a robot that's here. You want to tell him to go make a cup of coffee. You got to tell him, you can't tell him just go get me a cup of coffee. You got to define everything. What is coffee? How do I move? Where's the coffee machine? I mean, an entire thing has to be so precise for it to work. It's almost like a miracle that it works. So you get this mindset of thinking logically, and being able to program means you're talking to a machine. You can make it do things. So irrespective what career you're in, what job you are doing, it's an interesting area to go into. Honestly, I'm a real bad coder. I don't use it on a day-to-day basis, I would go crazy if I had to sit every day in front of a computer and code every day. That was my job. But I still recommend coding to people, irrespective of what you do. And there's so many good schools out in Japan that'll suit your styles. There's many different kinds. So find something that you like online. Some are free, some are do at your own pace, some are instructor facing, and just dive into this world. If you start today, next year you'll be able to have the fundamentals down, and that's going very slow, right? And it'll be interesting. If at all, it'll be a awesome mind exercise, an area of your brain that you don't use today, and I totally recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you enjoyed either of the presentations from our speakers today, definitely check them out, connect with them online. Yeah, we always want to say thank you to them for coming and telling their personal stories. So definitely check them out online if you get a chance. So the next FuckUp Nights is going to be Big 25, number 25. It'll be summer of this year, date to be decided. But if you're interested, definitely check out Doorkeeper or Meetup and follow FuckUp Nights. Couldn't continue without thanking so much Nicholas and Laurie, the people who are helping organize this. Without them, there's no possible way this would get done. This is the first one in person we're doing in 2 years. And yeah, it's the first one we're doing independent. So I want to give them definitely a round of applause and say thank you so much for helping organize. So the final thing is now what? You heard these stories. I hope that you felt it somewhere in your heart, in your mind, somewhere. And now what do? Maybe you go back and you forget about it. And you don't think about it for a while. So we'd like to ask a few things. The first is, if you thought today was great, or if you thought today sucked, either is fine. We'd really like to get your feedback. Again, this is the first time we're doing this in 2 years. So any comments you have, what worked, what didn't work, we'd really love to hear. So QR code, you can send us an email if you don't want to do a form, or you can use the URL, whatever is best for you. If you have any feedback for us, please let us know. Do you need for another second? Oh, good. Okay, moving on. Okay, also consider becoming a speaker. So the hardest part about this whole thing is finding speakers. It's really hard to find people who are willing to like really openly talk about mistakes that they've made or failures that they've had. So consider becoming a speaker. There's a link to a form there, or come talk to me or Nicholas after. Number one, it's a good chance to meet great people. The people who attend FuckUp Nights are always really interesting. And yeah, I mean, there are people here who have found jobs through the event. There are people who found clients. It's an interesting event if you want to put yourself out there. Number two, it's an opportunity to reflect on your experiences. So a lot of people who speak at this event tell us after, like, I haven't ever really sat down and like actually wrote out what happened or actually thought about what I learned from this experience before. So it's an opportunity to think about maybe an experience that you had that you haven't thought about so deeply. And third, it'll give you a clear skin and shiny hair. That's not a promise, but I think it's true. Okay, and finally, if you enjoyed today's presentations, if you resonated with, or if you felt the message from today, I really hope you can go out and you can live the message. So nobody wants to fail. I don't really like the saying that, oh, you should go out and fail, but because failure sucks and it hurts and no one wants to. But I hope that, as Connie said, you will eventually fail. And when it happens to you, I hope that once you get over the pain and the suffering, no matter how big or small it is, I hope that it's something you can learn from. And one day I hope that it's something that you can share with someone else and let them learn from it too. So everyone, thank you so much for coming tonight. It's Thursday, so let's have a great golden week, and I hope to see you at the next FuckUp Nights. And thank you again to our sponsors, Venture Café and Code Chrysalis. Everyone have a great golden week.
はい、ありがとうございました。オンラインで、ご視聴の皆様も以上で今週のサーセイギャザリング終了となります。ご参加ありがとうございました。